gaan eerst even naar Stefan toe. Stefan, welcome. I move back to this camera. We haven't seen your movie yet. Our audience will see it in a minute. So don't give everything away yet, but can you already give them some context on how to understand or interpret your work?
Yeah, it's let's say it's a found footage film that sort of takes place in a imaginary, or not imaginary, but it's a kind of imagery that's a little bit hard to define what's going on when you see it. So part of the idea for the film was also I want to leave as much as possible up to the viewer, I guess, to make up their own minds watching it.
It's very intriguing, and we're going to see the world in a really new way. And in the end of the movie, you tell us where those imageries come from, but it's found footage, and also the other movie that the people are going to watch is found footage. Do you contact the people who made the footage on forehand?
Yeah, with my first film, I made it a big sort of thing to really try and contact all the people that had made the images. And I realized you're not always successful in doing that. But in this case, I decided not to contact the company, mostly because I was scared to get a no. When you're dealing with companies, military companies, it's always a higher risk, especially when it's a documentary style film, higher risk of receiving a no. And so instead, if they want to know about the film, I will have to ask for forgiveness instead.
But then we already have been able to watch it. That's maybe a good choice. Your work is really much about image making. It's very philosophical of nature. How does this film fit your bigger oeuvre?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, the film is it's a kind of extension of the last film, my first film, The Migrating Image, in which I also explored a lot of military aesthetics, and I became more interested in that kind of sort of parallel world that exists between in private companies, state military, and that whole industry. So I dive a little bit into it in my first film, and then I think that was the initial idea for that for this film came through that. I was like, well, it could be interesting to have a film that dives more has that as the main theme, and so that then I started looking for companies that could be interesting to address this thing, which is also in the film, like how military technology also kind of migrates from warfare and from the battlefield into contemporary culture and into some things that are way closer to me than a battlefield.
And did you bump into it by accident, or were you really looking for this kind of material?
I would say I was not necessarily looking for thermal camera imagery. Like, I was interested in certain cameras at that time, but then I would say I bumped into this company. Of course, I didn't fall across it. I was sort of looking for something that because I also had an initial idea for the story in the film, and so wanted to have some imagery that could play up against this, to kind of contrast also, because there's also in the film you hear a personal narrative, which is kind of my own experience at the time. Having trouble sleeping is one thing, and I also mentioned a dream/nightmare that I have. So I wanted to have something to play this story up against, you know, like as a kind of contrast. But also, of course, I talk in the film about surveillance. So you have the images that are from a military contractor, but you could say the layer below that and how that technology usually goes from warfare to then
everyday life.
What we're seeing also now, like biometric mass surveillance and stuff like that.
And when you find it, is it then, do you have that? Yeah, do you immediately know this is it? This is good stuff.
I would say with these clips that I found, I could not stop looking at them. So I was very fascinated by them, also due to the location, due to the texture, due to what's taking place in the images. It felt very much like something that was revealing. It was easier to see like what is and where we are in history somehow. There's something about, you know, that it almost looks like a video game, but then it also looks more real than a regular image. Mm-hmm. So I felt like when you're seeing these images, it makes you think differently of certain things somehow, and that was the drive.
Yeah, that resonates with me definitely. When I was looking at your work, it also made me think of the philosopher artist Hito Steyl. Is she someone that you feel connected to?
Yes, definitely. She is, I would say, a big inspiration for my work, and I believe also some of the people that came before her, like Willem Flusser, Harun Foroki. Like the three of them are kind of key elements in my work, or definitely all of them. When I've seen their work or read their writings, I've been inspired somehow, and I feel a connection. So yeah.
That's I'm glad that I felt the right connection there then. Thank you very much. I think it's best if we let our audience have a look at your movie, because we can talk more about it, and I have much more questions to ask, but I don't want to spoil everything and really want to have our audience to have this amazement. So